Page 37, Scarborough Fair. This is introducing intervals of 6th and 7ths. I think they're a little late because you've already been using them in the previous pieces you've been doing. I've seen 6th and 7ths in both, are both intervals in some of these previous pieces. But they're explaining them too. You're just 6 notes or 7 notes apart. So if I start here, remember we start on 1, we don't start on 0. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. That's an interval of a 6th. I could start on any note, I just got to count up to 6. Just make sure you count the first note. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. It's an interval of a 6th. The 7th is one more. And a 7th is easy to remember because it's one less than an octave. An 8th is an octave. That's, letter to letter. If you just go down one, that's a 7th. And it's used a lot. And so there you are. 7ths are no biggie. You just got to move the hands out a little bit so you can reach these wider intervals. Scarborough Fair has a bunch of accidentals in it. I think you can do the accidentals, not a problem. In the right hand, the first line is in G position. You're starting out there. Okay. The second line, you got to go up to a C position because you want your index finger on a D. Okay. On the third line, you're starting in the C position, but then in the third measure, the third line, you got to move your little finger to the D. You just played the D with the index finger. Now you got to put your little finger on it. So that's really common in piano, where you happen to be playing a note like that, the same note, and you play it with different fingers. Later on, I will show you and explain why that's important. At the end, the last 2 measures in the right hand, look at the fingering they're showing you. In G position, so the A's at the index finger, you play the G with the thumb, you're going to play the F with the second finger, you're going to cross over. Okay. They're suggesting thumb on G so you stay in position. I prefer third finger because it's there now. When you crossed over, in this case, you can move you can use crossing over the thumb to change hand positions. It doesn't have to. I mean, if I played the last note with a thumb, it's not changing hand position. That doesn't change hand position. But if I use the third finger for you, it did. And I suggest you do that. It's a lot more comfortable. I recommend that. It's up to you what you do. In the left hand, the first measure, you have the G and the D. Okay. Next measure, you have an E flat. I would recommend you use the index finger on the E flat. I showed you this fingering on a piece previous to this. A couple reasons for this. You're getting ready to go on to the next measure, and you use your thumb on the E. And then the last measure with the F, you can use your thumb again. But the more important reason for using the index finger on the E flat is because it happens to be a black note and the thumb is a short finger. So we avoid the thumb on the black notes if we can. We can't always do that, but we can. And here we can, so use the index finger. If you use the thumb, you got to put your hands up in the black note area. Doable, not recommended. However, let's talk about the third line. The first measure of that third line, you're up here, left hand now. Next measure, you have a B flat and an F. Now, you can use third finger on the B flat and use the thumb where it is, if you want. Or, you can just change positions and use the little finger on the B flat. Considering what's coming, I recommend you do that. The pedal is down so it helps connect it to sound. In the third measure of that line, you have a B flat and a G flat. 2 ways of doing this. I'm not going to say one is right and one is wrong. There's 2 ways of doing it. A lot of times in music, there's multiple ways of doing things. I don't care for it when teachers say, you got to do it this way. I say, no, I don't. I can do it this way. Fingering wise, third line left hand. Let's take a look at it. First measure's here. You can do third finger on the B flat or little finger. I recommend little finger because it puts you in position for what's coming. And the third measure, you can use your index finger on the G flat. Okay, not a problem. If you do that, then in the last measure, you pretty much have to do third finger on the D in the F sharp. Might be a little awkward for you. There's a lot of things in music that's awkward, especially piano playing. So I wouldn't shy away from it. It's doable. Not the only way to do it. We could do it this way. You got a little finger, second measure, little finger on the B flat and the F. We go ahead and put the thumb on the G flat, move the hands up. And now when we use the third finger for the D and the F sharp, it's not awkward. It's fine. But then in the first measure of the next line, use the thumb again on the F natural, and this way you come back out. Don't play that first measure of the last line up in the black note area. Come out. So you're here, come out. Play it outside. That's fine. Whichever way you want to do it, I don't care. This has overlapping pedal throughout. Oh, they're talking about inharmonics. Alright, fine. An inharmonic is another written note with the same sound, the same pitch. Technically it's not the same pitch, but on piano it is, okay? If you were going to play a violin or a string instrument, they would not be the same pitch. But on piano, the way it's tuned, it is. On a guitar or a fretted instrument, it is, okay? So in the third line, a third and fourth measure, the top note, you have a G flat, and the last measure, it's an F sharp. It's the same note on the piano. It's called an inharmonic. All of the notes on the piano, white and black, have more than one name. There can be more than one note on them. It just makes life fun and interesting. Don't let that scare you off, because it does make sense, and we'll get there. And I'll explain it when we get there. Just know that this could be an F sharp, raise an F up, you get there. Or it could be a G flat, because you take a G and flat it one, it's there. It's the same thing. All right? You can do that with most any of these. And then the last couple of things, one is bring out the melody, play the melody, as this case it's in the right hand. And the other thing is the fermata on the last note. When I'm playing with a metronome, I double it, so instead of 3 counts, I'm going to hold that last note 6 counts. It's up to you how long you hold it, but that's what I'm going to do. So 3/4 time, I'll give you 3 counts. So the right hand is in G position, the left hand is in G position, and the foot's on the pedal. 1, ready, go. Off.